Hi guys, this is actor and comedian Sanjay Madhav, and recording another video here about my tinnitus. Kind of as a follow-up to my other video, but also to reiterate a point. I'm not going to get into what tinnitus is, how I get it, how I got it, how one gets it, and so on and so forth. If you're sitting here on this, watching this video at this point, you probably know what tinnitus is, and so what I want to do is I want to offer you some things that have worked for me, and what's been the most some practical advice. And when I say advice, I mean mostly ways of thinking about it. I went through the whole workup like a lot of you have probably gone through or will go through, where you go see the doctors, ENT, they can't do anything. You go to a speech and hear, you go to a hearing audiologist, they can't do anything. I even went to a neuro-otologist, they can't do anything. They may want to prescribe you some meds. Well, let me just talk about my case. They wanted to prescribe me some meds in various different categories. It was all experimental, some of which I tried. I had terrible side effects. Again, I'm just speaking for myself here, and no benefit. I think it's a very slippery slope, but it's a necessary journey. That's not necessary, but a normal journey, because you get something the doctors tell you it can't be cured. First thing you want to do is, okay, I don't accept that. You're in denial. You reject it. You refute it, and you say, I got to get rid of this. I want to get rid of this. I'm not going to live like this. I can't live like this. I refuse to live like this. That's very normal, but that's also your ego speaking. Here's where I've made the most progress, and it took me years to get to this point. Stop looking for it to go away. Stop looking for cures in a traditional sense, like a surgery, a pill, eardrops, or herbal supplements, and so on and so forth. Some of those things may or may not help. Your tinnitus may or may not go away, but regardless, whether it does or doesn't, you have to live your life, and you owe it to yourself to move forward with your life and to live your life to the best of your abilities and as joyfully as you can. And if it doesn't go away, you can do it. Many have done it, and I have done it. I have had tinnitus for 6 years now. First couple or 3 years were pretty difficult. The last few years, especially since I've habituated, just a fancy way of saying kind of get used to it, you accept it, your brain doesn't dwell on it as being something negative. This tipping point is in your thinking process, and the tipping point is really when you get to that place of kind of giving up, in a sense. Not giving up on life, not giving up on a happy life, not giving up on you, not giving up on your future. Okay, don't mistake that. Giving up on it has to go away. I can't live like this. I must get rid of it. I'm emphasizing these all or nothing kind of words in these phrases because it's the biggest impediment to your habituation, and your habituation means getting over it, getting unstuck, moving past it, and being less bothered by it. In fact, I almost consider myself cured, to be honest with you, after 6 years. It's not that the tinnitus is gone. It doesn't bother me, and I don't think about it. If I really want to dwell on it, it's there. But I 95% of the time choose not to dwell on it, and it's not there to a degree that is bothersome at all. So I don't go around thinking about it or don't go around talking about it. I make these videos for the purposes of trying to help others get to that place, because it's a journey like anything else in life, and that journey has bumps along the way, and that journey is not linear. Nothing is, especially medically when you're healing from something. It's not improvement, one day, next week, next month, next year. There's a lot of ups, and there's a lot of downs and peaks and valleys, and 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And just when your tinnitus seems mild, or you didn't hear it for a day or an hour or a minute, it comes back and you go, oh, well, that sucks. Okay, now I'm down in the dumps again. You can't have your emotions tied so integrally to everything bad and negative that happens to you in your life. Otherwise you're never going to give yourself opportunities to be peaceful and be happy. You have to increase something called frustration tolerance. I'm not going to go into what that is. It's kind of self-explanatory, but just search that and let the professional psychologist who can articulate it better than I explain that to you, and read a little bit about it on your online. So increase your frustration tolerance. Stop looking for the miracle solutions, cures, that it has to end, it has to go away, and you'll get better. Okay? And getting better means habituating, and that means getting used to it, accepting it, get accustomed to it, and surprisingly to you, me, and everyone else who's gone down this path, you can do it, and it becomes less bothersome. In my case, almost not even presently aware of it and bothersome. The only accommodation I make in my life these days is I don't go to very loud places, concerts, certain bars where there might be loud music. Sometimes I will go, but I'll guarantee you I wear plugs because I want to protect my hearing and make sure and mitigate the chances for any tinnitus getting worse. But it's a very tolerable and copable level. And by the way, my tinnitus is pretty severe. So you might be inclined to say, well, yeah, Sanjay, but yours is not as bad as mine is, so you might have moved on, but I'm still suffering. And we hear this, and those in this field hear this a lot. A lot. Everyone thinks they have it worse than the next person. It's subjective. I don't know yours any worse than mine. I'll just tell you, mine is 24/7, 365. I had all the sleeping problems earlier on, and the whole gamut. Depression, anxiety. They give you those little rating charts. If you haven't done that yet, your psychologist or therapist, or probably your audiologist will do this too. Probably not the ENT, but they'll give you that rating chart you go through, and you kind of say, how much is my tinnitus bothering me on various aspects of my life. Mine were all in the 90s. Like, I was crippled. I felt disabled by this thing. That was years ago. Today, not even close. My scores are all like way lower than they were. So that's good. It's positive, right? I've turned the corner, and you can too. So the cure really is what I said. It's not, it's gone. It's, I don't care if it's there or not, because it doesn't bother me one way or the other. Those of you that have habituated get what I'm saying. Those of you that have not probably don't. And those of you that don't probably are fairly newly afflicted. It's logical, and we've all gone through that journey. But those that, in my opinion, have not habituated, after 10, 15, 20 years, and you'll hear people complaining, venting might be a more appropriate word, but complaining about it, not to minimize what you're going through, but you haven't habituated, I found, in most cases, because you're unwilling to accept the reality as it is, and that it may not change, and be okay with it and move forward. That's a mental process. It is a switch, but it's not a light switch where you in one day go from one to the other. It's a journey of months or years and that switch goes, because the brain, you can look into neuroscience and neuroplasticity, which is something I've studied a lot, and I won't explain it here in this video, but if you do some reading on that, you'll find how adaptable and malleable your brain is to unwanted stimuli and suffering, and how much you're capable of in that respect. The human mind is, animals too, and still being able to move forward with life. We've done it. Many have done it. You can do it too. What you find online, unfortunately, is overwhelming the negative point of view. There's an at least equal amount of positive tinnitus stories and habituation stories out there. Out there meaning in the real world, but not out there online. There is a skew, there is a bias we've all come to find, and it's really a miscategorization of what positive outcomes can occur. So there's a lot of psychology to this, and I recommend going that route. I recommend talking to a therapist specifically who has knowledge of cognitive behavioral therapy for tinnitus. That'll be your biggest ally. And like I said, I look at it near term or early on stages as a coping mechanism, help support a reduction of the perceived suffering and so on and so forth, but long term it's the cure.